I can tell you that I remain committed to scouting because scouting for me is incredibly rewarding. It's great for me, and it's very rewarding to see the development of the young individuals in scouting. I can tell you my son is in Scouts now, working on his Eagle project. I was in scouting as well, and I've also had the pleasure of sitting in a number of Eagle Board of Reviews. And I can tell you when I sit there and I hear these young individuals speak, they're incredibly articulate. They demonstrate leadership capabilities. It's very rewarding for me, and at times very emotional for me as well. Well, I can tell you I have a number of very fond memories of scouting. One that stands out is when I attended Hovey with my father. My father was involved in my troop, and I remember going to scout camp with him a number of years in a row, and that was very enjoyable. I look back on that fondly. And secondly, I'm happy to have shared that experience with my son as well, attending Massaweepie. I was there for the week with my son, and linking those two together, it was pretty cool, very rewarding for me.
My most memorable moment in scouting actually was a long time ago. And my two older brothers were in Scouts, and I was not. And I still remember the moment where my parents allowed me to still make a Pinewood Derby car. How much that really set me on the path of creativity and really shaped me into a person. And I wasn't even a part of the Cub Scouts at that time. So it's now nice, all these years later, where I still get to give back. It's actually very important to tell the story of Scouts because it really teaches kids the fine moral compass that all kids need. I am in awe of the kids that pass through the program. Hearing their stories, hearing why they turned to scouting is inspiring. Because
I have enjoyed scouting first as a Boy Scout, then an explorer, and then I thoroughly enjoyed getting involved with my son as he went through scouting. And then he went off to college, and I thought, gee, now what's my excuse to keep involved? And so I got involved. I think one of the most interesting moments was, it's almost emotional. I went out to Philmont with my son. We ended up on the top of Mount Baldy, really high up in the air, in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. You couldn't see any civilization from anywhere up there, but you could look down and see all of God's creation. And we hiked up there. It was just beautiful. You know, you learn a lot of these things with all these merit badges you earned and so on, and just by being involved in scouting, that are just repeatedly applied in adult life. And even as an adult leader in this, you can just watch kids grow, and you can help them grow and meet their challenges, and it's just really quite a rewarding thing.
I stay committed to scouting because I've had a lot of great experiences, met a lot of great people, and I see the benefit of the program for the youth. So I want to give back, and I stay in the program. Some of the benefits that I've seen with the youth, watching them grow up from the time that they were tigers and having a program that gave them support and gave them direction, and seeing them now as they've gotten older, becoming valued community members. My fondest memory of scouting is going on many of the trips with my troop and my son, and just exploring different things and being scouts. We've gone through normal scouting trips like Gettysburg, Washington, D.C., Boston. We've done some odd things where we spent a weekend just doing roller coaster rides as a scout troop, just trying to find anything that the boys want to do and letting the boys decide where they want to go and proving that we can do it and they can do what they want to do.
The reason I've stayed committed to scouting is I want to continue the legacy and the experiences of scouting that, first of all, that I had as a young man growing up when I was a scout. You know, really the enjoyable times I had going to a week of summer camp, which was the highlight of summer. And then also all the skills that I learned, besides leadership, just things that I still use today, things like knots. So if I'm strapping something to the top of a car, it doesn't fall off, or first aid. And then I saw how much my son enjoyed scouting, so I want to preserve that same legacy for him. And I really feel that I'm paying back for all the enjoyment and fun and things that I've learned.
I stayed committed to scouting because it was a big part of our lives growing up with the boys. Diane was a big part of getting me into it because I was never in scouting. And what I saw happen with the boys and their ability to grow and with responsibilities and goals and achievements, that's what I like about scouting. So when they kind of aged out and went off to college, I wanted to stay and do what I could to help out with scouting and keep that spirit and character building and responsibility and leadership training going, which is why I was pretty active in NYLT for quite a while. I think it's important for kids in scouting to really take on some responsibility in leadership roles that is difficult to do in other youth groups. Sports are great. I did sports, my kids did sports, but only a few selected people in sports get to be leaders. Whereas in scouting, anybody in the troop can become a leader.
Well, I stay committed to the scouting movement because I see the impact it has on young people, having been both a Cub Master and then the opportunity to be a Scoutmaster, seeing those same young people, those guys, grow up from being a Cub Scout to many of them being Eagle Scouts, and seeing their growth, their development, their character, and a whole ton of fun along the way. A person of character and hopefully some integrity. I'd like to think that I have an impact on youth in scouting in a similar fashion that leaders had in my life by investing in young people, seeing them grow, seeing them just tremendously change in their confidence, their ability to contribute to society, make a better world for us. And again, having fun along the way. Those are all great opportunities just to invest into the next generation. There's probably too many memories to count just one as my most fond memory, but I would certainly list the fun and the adventure that I had as a youth, the leadership opportunities. I was able to serve in the Order of the Arrow as an officer and then later Lodge Chief, went to Philmont. But when I look back on my scouting history, the fond memory that really comes to mind is just the knowledge of how many people poured their lives into me as mentors and leaders to help me become a better person.
I'm involved in scouting because when you look at the mission and the ideals of scouting, which is, and I'll paraphrase, right, to make good citizens and young people who can make ethical choices, I don't know that there's really another youth organization that does any better than Scouts BSA. My most fond memories of scouting is, I have several, but I don't necessarily have one in particular. Certainly both of my sons are Eagle Scouts, and that's pretty important. Also, I had the pleasure of guiding my brother through his vigil and both my nephews, and that was a pretty special moment. And I tend to think that with my involvement with the youth, and in particular the female girl unit that I'm involved in now, I think probably my fondest memory is yet to come. Scouting is probably more important today than at any other time in history, I think, because of the values and our goals and our missions that I already mentioned, right? Have young people make ethical choices and become good citizens. I don't necessarily, it's not a knock against youth football or youth baseball or travel soccer or any of those things. Teamwork and all that is important, but overall, I don't think they can get the experience that we lend in any other youth program.
I stay committed to the scouting movement. I went through scouting myself. I did a lot of high adventure when I was a scout, and I earned Eagle rank when I was a scout. And I'm just hoping to give back some of that And I love seeing young men and now young ladies or go through that journey and earn those kind of awards. My fondest memory during scouting actually is interesting, and it covers almost 40 years. So when I was a scout, I went to Philmont, and I was the youngest scout there, very smallest scout in our crew, and we did all the stuff at Philmont. And I ended up going, on the last day, we climbed the Tooth of Time, and went through, saw the sunrise coming over the prairie, and just had an amazing experience. But I had the same experience with my sons, 30 and then 40 years after that, so very memorable to me. Scouting's important to families. I think the values and the life skills and the leadership skills, it certainly has impacted me throughout my whole life, and I've seen it impact the families that I've been involved with throughout scouting. The trips that we've gone on, the experiences that we've had, I think just make a lasting memory on all the people that are involved in scouting.
One of the things that scouting has done is it's offered me a lot as a gift for myself in being able to grow and empowered in different diversity, and even being deaf, that I'm able to accomplish a lot. At the same time, I also get a chance to see you in the developing and grow from starting in the advancement to learning the leadership skills. So it gives the best of both worlds. So it isn't just for youth, it's also for adults. My most fond memory in scouting is when my son and I took a 50-mile hike. And where we ended up, it was a week-long adventure, and where we ended up was at Camp Color. And at Camp Color is where we started as a Cub Scout, where we borrowed a tent. And in the end, we were able to look back on all of our different journeys, because now he was almost going to be completing his legal project that fall. So it was like a whole memory line, and we were just stayed up all night talking about all the different activities that we had accomplished with scouting. Why is scouting so important to me? Today. To you. Because in today's scouting, it's very important. One of the things that I have found out for myself as being part of the deaf community, sometimes it can be very negative because we have a lot of daily challenges. It can be very, I would say, not so much demeaning, but deflating sometimes. Very scouting today, there's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of challenges, but with the challenges that they face, there's a lot of people who are big on problem solving and empowering others. You are more dependent on your strength instead of your weaknesses. So I think it's really important because it gives you that prepare for life skills in scouting, that positive empowerment approach in life.
You know, I'm committed to the scouting program because I like seeing the incremental growth in our scouts. I think that it's important that we are providing skills that aren't being given to our boys anywhere else and our girls. It's life skills that we provide, that they attain, and then they can give back to everyone else. It's an opportunity to be part of their lives in a really special way, and I'm thankful for that. On our first hike, when my son Liam and I were up in Cutler, going up that really great trail that has the big overlook, and I have this photograph of him just beaming, and it's memories like that that just keep me going.